Jordan Reed from ESPN.com, friend of the program, had his first mock out today. And I think now is when you can start paying attention to mocks because the draft order is set. Like, we know who's where. Mm-hmm. Could there be trades? Could things change? Of course. But Jordan Reed has Washington in pick 7, taking David Bailey. That would have my full support. Mm-hmm. Dude had 14.5 sacks at Texas Tech. If I hear this, Brian, I may go nuts. And I'm preparing to hear this. Mm-hmm. Do you know what one of the criticisms is with David Bailey?
What's that?
He's a one-trick pony. He's only really good at rushing the passer. That's a good problem to have.
I'm going to tell you somebody else who's very, very good at rushing the passer, and I don't know if he's great at stopping the run. He just had 23 sacks this year. Myles Garrett.
Right.
Okay. There were people who were only bought in on third downs, second and long, and they did that well. The question I would ask is, you got anybody that can do it very consistently right now? And if you do have somebody, don't you think a guy who's very good at it will make that other guy even more effective? So the thing of it, sports watching, fandom, media today has become everybody got to be perfect. Day one. When, hell, we're not perfect at our jobs. So let's allow this thing to grow. If they can get a guy who's very good at that one thing, let him do it.
Doug, if they get a really good pass rusher, that's good.
Hell yeah.
I think the measurables.
Vaughn got 9 sacks, didn't he? Playing mostly late in the game.
Vaughn got 9 sacks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You get a young guy who may be a little bit more spry than what Vaughn is right now, and he's very good at that, he might get 15 of them for you.
One thing, I thought Jaden Daniels yesterday when he spoke, he talked about the best ability is availability, mm-hmm. and that's what he's got to work on, right?
Yes.
And I do think Jaden needs to work on that in some capacity. I don't think any notion of him bulking up is the answer. Maybe he adds a little bit of – I think as you grow as a man, you tend to bulk up a little bit.
He'll get a little bit bulky.
But his legs are a dynamic part of what he does, and you don't want to change what are his superpowers. Maybe the offense will end up changing, you know? Maybe you protect him a little bit more with some of the RPOs and stuff. But that said, you know, Jaden has a lot to kind of figure out, I would say.
Yeah. Have you ever touched the hot pot?
Yeah.
Touch it again?
You learn.
Okay. So he's going to learn that pot doesn't get cooler.
I also think organizationally, they could do more to make Jaden better. And Peters yesterday was talked about, you know, it was really hard for us. Both of our top 2 receivers missed a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I assume that's in reference to McLaurin and Noah Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope there's a realization in that building that Noah Brown can't be your 2 receiver. Like,
I think that notion has already been realized.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Like, I like Noah Brown a lot, but I think he's a good 4th receiver. And I think you've got Jaden going into year 3. You've still got him on a rookie deal. The window doesn't even open to possibly negotiate with him until after this season. And they could do it after year 4. They could, you know, they got options, right? I think you got to wonder, how do you keep him healthy? How do you maximize the talent around him? Landfill number 10, Adam Peters on the plan to keep Jaden on the field.
Is there a way? I think really, I think, and this might be a better question for DQ, but, you know, from me, I think is just continuing to, like, from my, you know, from a personnel or GM perspective, is continuing to put good players around him. You know, that's in front of him at the O-line. It's running backs to control the ball and control the clock and not put it all on his shoulders and get in second and third and manageables. It's receivers that he can trust and throw to so that he's not holding on to the ball longer. And so from my perspective, it's just getting good players around him, getting a good defense on the other side so he's not it's not all on his shoulders to win the game. So DQ can probably talk more schematically, but in terms of from me, I think those are the things that I can and need to do to help him out.
I think that's right. I think
we've saved that many times on this show, where I know the mindset of most people is the quarterback is the end-all, be-all. I know I've said it. You have to make his job easier, which means utilizing talent around him. If you got a running game, you lean on that running game. You got better receivers around him, he doesn't have to go out there and try to win everything by himself. If the offensive line is more stout, I hear people try to knock Connolly. Connolly, it was the only guy on the team that played every damn play offensively.
that's pretty hard to do
In his
as a
rookie season.
Yeah.
And if anybody, I got to put a lot of faith in Baldy. Baldy put a emphasis on that with a little video of him talking about the things that he did well. That's absolutely right. Jaden Daniels is a very, very good athlete with great abilities. Okay? Can do some magnificent things. But if those things are only used in needed situations and he could just facilitate the rest of the time, the team becomes easier, his job becomes easier, he takes less hits. But if you don't have good talent around him, a guy with that extreme talent that he has is going to always say, I'm going to go out there and make something happen. And when your guy is pressing to make something happen, that's when the injuries come. Make his job easier.
So then this is Dan Quinn, number 11, Landini, talking about changes they want to make with Jaden, how they keep him healthy, how they get him better, and back to what we saw that first year.
Very much so, that part. And even after, his injury, we, specifically, said, this is the area, this is what we're going to work on him. As opposed to waiting till the offseason, we decided, let's get a jump start on that. So very much so, will he be a part of it? But I would say not only will he, like we already are going there. And so it's really important. We know what he brings to us, what he means to us. And, I think it's all encompassing, in how we go play the game. So, we're like fully committed to, finding ways to continue to do that.
So the question was also, will Jaden have input in how you make this roster better and kind of what do things look like going forward? And DQ was saying, yeah, he already does and he will continue to. And I think that's smart, right? Now, a huge part of Jaden's progress or brilliance is play calling and what the offense looks like. And I think there's a lot of smoke surrounding the Cliff Kingsbury situation. And Brian, you said some interesting things earlier. You think, when Cliff's calling plays for Jaden, maybe he relies too much on Jaden's greatness. And maybe that needs to change. I know the screen stuff drove you crazy. I wish I remember who it was. It was one of our friends of the program texted me in that Philly game. They finally ran kind of that fake bubble to the other side in the Philly game. And you saw a lot more motion from Debo, a lot of that loop motion in the backfield in that Philly game. It's going to be really interesting to watch how this all goes. And let's at least play the audio of Dan Quinn. First of Dan Quinn asked specifically about Cliff Kingsbury. This is number 3. Nikki Jabvala asked the question specifically about Cliff Kingsbury's performance this season.
Yeah, we're going through all the coaches, Cliff, offensively, defensively, on the teams wide. And so that's really what we're digging into, Nikki, to find what's best, how do we do it, where do we find spaces to improve. And, for Cliff, for Joe, for Larry, for all of us, that's our main focus, so we're never in this space again. And that's what we want to dig in hard on.
So before we get to what a non-answer that is, one thing I wanted to make clear. Of Washington's 3 coordinators, Larry Izzo should absolutely be back and had the best season of any of them.
Yeah, he did.
Witt hasn't really had a good season. last year they got some timely turnovers and the offense was awesome. This year it went sideways. The offense wasn't awesome to back them out of it, and they didn't get timely turnovers. Cliff had one very good season and one down season. There were a lot of injuries. Maybe there's factors to that, but the numbers are the numbers. The special teams, now the kicker problems I think are more on personnel than they are on Larry, but the coverage units and the return units have been fantastic.
But still, if you talk to Larry, just like Dan says this all the time, they always go over everything to try to improve it. If you talk to Larry right now, I promise you he'll tell you they can be more consistent returning.
Sure.
The coverage, they can be more consistent. There were times when we allowed the people to get to the 40, 50 at most inopportune times. And, we had some little coverage woes, and
sure.
You got to correct
You can always
stuff.
get better.
Yeah. And I think that's the ultimate thing where you're chasing perfection. If you're not chasing perfection, you're in the wrong damn business.
One, I think Larry, one, is that dude.
Yeah.
And two, I'm saying, seems like it's pretty shaky ground between Cliff and the organization. Joe Witt's already been demoted. You know what I mean? Like, they've already removed play calling from his purview. So, the Witt ship appears to be sailing. But Izzo should be completely separated from those two, is what I'm saying.
But the team is a team. That's why at the end of a game, we can lose a game, but there's somebody that played great, and you can point that out. And I think that's the same thing.
Agreed.
We're looking at everything, but that dude, we know he played better.
Did you not think the non-answer on Cliff was telling? Just to not mention a little bit of, we did some good things, we're working through everything.
I don't see it. I think differently than most people. I don't always think something is being hidden. I think the ultimate thing is, I'm not letting you get me going down that avenue right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, they see everything we see, and they hear everything we hear, and they probably hear before us and hear more stuff. And when that question bounces out there, yeah, we looking at him, but we looking at everybody. So I don't have to praise him if I didn't praise anybody else. I'm just saying we're gonna look at everything. I'm gonna give you a broad answer, and the thing of it in this thing, like I said, I've been on both sides of this thing.
Sure.
And I know when you give a little, they're coming with more. So you got to always protect yourself from having to deal with more questions about something that you really don't want to go down that avenue right now. And I would have answered it exactly how he answered it, because I'm not letting you ask me questions all day about Cliff, because I know what the rumors are. I know, and I'm not getting into that right now.
All right. So then I asked Adam Peters his role on the coaching staff decisions. Number 16, Professor Landini. Peters' influence on coaching staff decisions.
I'm really just here to support DQ. The coaching staff is DQ's, and I'm always here to help, like during the season and off season, however I can, to help support him and help him make the decisions that he needs to make, and certainly wherever he needs. So it's not, I'm not involved in whatever decision it is. It's always DQ's call, and I have his back on whatever he wants to do.
There's not silos here, JP, coaching and scouts. We connect, we talk a lot, we visit a lot, and so it's one of the things I enjoy most is those conversations. It's different perspective, different points of view, so it's as collaborative as I've been a part of.
Yeah.
A lot of collaboration. We've heard that throughout. Open these phones, 800-636-1067, 800-636-1067. Want to ask the Aquarium. We've heard from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. We probably won't hear from them for some time, maybe not till Indy at the Combine. How are people feeling? Obviously, this season went sideways. Injuries are a big part of it. How do you feel about the direction of this thing going forward? What do we make of the comments from yesterday? Phones are open. Nobody go anywhere. It's BMitch and Finlay.